don't think, oh my goodness, I've got to go jump in a ridiculously cold lake and be in there for 5 minutes like a crazy German guy I see on TV. I can't do that. Nope, not that hard. Getting cold. Is cold water exposure worth it? Right now, this is clearly in vogue. And is this something that can help you improve your health, or is it a passing fad? Well, let me start by saying this is definitely something you should consider doing. However, per the usual, do not take my word for it. Show me the evidence. So we will detail how cold water exposure can prevent you from getting sick, can improve your sexual desire, can improve your sleep, and may even improve your performance, reduce anxiety, and reduce oxidative stress, therefore decelerate the aging process. But again, let's look at what science can tell us to make sure we're not falling victim to fad and placebo effect. First study here, and if this doesn't motivate you, I don't know what will. 49 subjects found that after 2 months of cold exposure, they experienced increased sexual satisfaction, overall health satisfaction, a reduction in anxiety, and an improvement in body composition, which I've been a little bit wary of. Well, does this whole exposure to cold improve the function of brown adipose tissue, and this helps to burn white fat and therefore can improve your body composition? At least this one small study hints that you may see an improvement in your body composition if you are undergoing cold exposure therapy. But how do you do it? How long? How cold? Well, this next study helps us with this. And I'll come around to the parameters in a moment. But first, this additional study, the second study, looked at 104 subjects. And look at this. They found increases in free T3 thyroid hormone, an improvement in insulin, norepinephrine or adrenaline, T cell function, and I'll tie this to immune status in a moment, and zinc also ties in with your immune system. And there was an improvement or reduction in oxidative stress, insulin, ApoB, homocysteine, and in cortisol levels, which I would have thought that cold exposure would increase cortisol, but apparently we have an improvement in norepinephrine, which can help with focus and energy, and it does not come at the expense of amping up your cortisol levels. And this is my lab work. When this was 2 winters ago, I was doing a decent amount of cold plunging into a tank of about 40 degrees and also keeping my home fairly cool. I wasn't expecting to find this, but I actually had high levels of T3. Now, I'm not saying we should be targeting high levels of T3, but just to show you that T3 will often adapt in people who are highly stressed, who are maybe over-exercising or not eating enough or enough carbohydrate, you can see low levels of T3. And in people who are undergoing healthy stressors, you may see a heightened level of T3. In my case, my T3 went abnormally high. I felt great. And this was likely just an adaptation to my body being exposed to a fair amount of cold. Okay, so here's where the parameters of how do we load this come in. This was a randomized control trial in 3,000 individuals. And there was a control group, so important for placebo. And there was a cold shower group. Look at this. Not a high bar. You can start off warm and then go to 30, 60, or 90 seconds of cold water. What they found was fantastic. There was a 29% reduction in sick days. Continuing, if you also exercised, there was a 54% reduction in sick days. What a fantastic finding. And thankfully, it did not matter the duration of your cold exposure, whether it was 30, 60, or 90. These benefits were imbued to either the 29% reduction in sick days or the 54% reduction if you were also exercising. So don't think, oh my goodness, I've got to go jump in a ridiculously cold lake and be in there for 5 minutes like a crazy German guy I see on TV. I can't do that. No, not that hard. Start your shower warm, then do 30, 60, or 90 seconds. If you want to do more, you can. But again, the bar here to entry to benefit is not super high. Great news. And then continuing, if you're someone who is exercising, this was a great study that found if you were ramping up your exercise, trying to become more fit, trying to grab all these benefits associated with exercise, and we know there are just a myriad of these, cold water exposure or cold cryotherapy, whether it was water or not, there's also gas chambers that can be used, improve sleep quality. And for me, I find this really compelling because when I am pushing or overreaching with exercise, that is the first thing for me that will go south. So improve sleep quality, improve fatigue, and improved exercise capacity, leading these researchers to say cryotherapy used during intense training helped mitigate the signs of functional overreaching, meaning you're pushing your body with more exercise than it's normally accustomed to, and it has to adapt. So a great finding there. And hopefully, if you're not now, at some point you will reach a little bit with your fitness, and you can use cold exposure to help offset some of that. This all begs the question, how is cold therapy helping? And we've hit on a few of these, but just to try to tie one mechanism in that we haven't yet discussed. We have clearly discussed how leaky gut can be problematic. And this is because leaky gut will allow bacterial cell wall fragments, this lipopolysaccharide, LPS, to leak through and to then trigger toll-like receptor 4 and an ensuing cascade of inflammation, which you don't want. Now, in this study, they had participants either do nothing, do cold exposure, do Wim Hof or Tumo breathing, or do both. And what they found was all of these participants who were doing the combination of cold exposure plus the Wim Hof breathing experienced a reduction in the inflammatory response to lipopolysaccharide. And this is something that I think is very important to bear in mind, that if you are struggling with a health condition, leaky gut can underlie that, and or if there's not, let's say, leaky gut per se, you may be someone who is hyperreactive. And we've also documented that people who have high levels of amygdala activation tend to have blood that's more inflammatory, and some very elegant experiments that have looked at this. One of the ways we can dampen this is through time in nature, as we discussed before, which can dampen the amygdala. And when the amygdala is dampened, there seems to be less inflammation. This is another way of getting there. And as the researchers said in this study, to quote, the combination of cold water exposure and breathing exercise significantly attenuates the inflammatory response in healthy young males. So if you are experiencing inflammation, there's a number of things you can do, but one is Wim Hof breathing and also cold water exposure. And here's another way of loading this and another mechanism through which the cold water helps. In this study, clinical trial of 28 males, they were exposed to 3 minutes in a lake once per week, and the lake was roughly 40 degrees. Again, that's just once per week, so the bar is not very high. And they found after 7 months, they had a lower level of oxidative stress and an improvement in endogenous or internally or naturally produced antioxidants. One of the theories of aging is oxidative stress, which can essentially damage all tissues of your body. If you smoke and you drink and you eat bad food and you don't sleep, all this will age you prematurely. And if you have a better production of antioxidants, can buffer these things. Now, ideally, you don't do any or most of those things, and you also engage in healthy practices like cold exposure, so you really get this net anti-aging effect. And again, from this paper, cold exposure performed once per week in 3 to 5 minute sessions can effectively stimulate the body to adapt to oxidative stress and increase its antioxidant defense system, similar to sauna and to exercise. So just one more simple thing you can do to improve your health. And also, it's free, right? To turn your shower on a cold for 30, 60, 90 seconds, free, easy. So in summary, cold exposure can reduce sick days, improve energy and mood, enhance sexual satisfaction, and improve body composition via the mechanisms of a reduction of reactivity to LPS, lipopolysaccharide, increased antioxidant capacity along with a reduction in oxidative stress, and also by bolstering free T3 and levels of epinephrine. So if you are not using this as a practice, I would highly recommend that you do. You have two options as far as I see it. Option one, end your showers on cold. Do this daily. Remember, 30 seconds is all you need to get some of this benefit. You can do 30, you can do 60, you can do 90, you can do more. You can also look at the Wim Hof Method app if you want to have a clock to help you with this, and also for that guided breathing exercise as they used in those trials. Option two, get yourself a cold plunge or go to a lake if there's one close by, or any body of water that you can swim in that's cold. And remember, that is only 3 minutes once per week. And here is a episode that we did with Mike T. Nelson. And thank you, Mike. He has these great instructions which you can access through this webpage for how to make your own at-home cold therapy unit. And this is essentially a modified meat freezer, and all in it's about $1,000. So certainly pretty reasonable to do that. So again, if you're looking to enhance your health, this is something that's not just a fad. There are some good data, as we've outlined, that are placebo-controlled, finding a variety of health benefits. This is a free and simple practice that you can put into place that will improve many facets of your health. So if you're not doing cold exposure, I would recommend you start today or start tomorrow morning when you shower. Remember, as little as 30 seconds will garner health benefits.